Good morning. It's time for Morning Oasis. I am here. It's 10 a.m. on the 19th of May. Last night I got obsessive, you guys. I got obsessive. I had started this basket actually earlier than yesterday. I started it the last time I went out to Connie's, and I was working on it. And it started to kind of like come into fruition, like what it was going to be. So I'm going to show you guys what I've been doing. I ended up becoming obsessive. Good morning, Connie. You're not going to believe when you see what I did so far. So I stayed up, you guys, until 5 a.m. Oh, I just wasn't sleepy. It was crazy. I was not sleepy. I couldn't go to bed. And I watched, good morning. I ended up watching, there's a new show on Netflix called Anne with an E. And they're remaking Anne of Green Gables. Good morning, Laura. Good morning, Michelle. And so I ended up staying up watching that show because Anne of Green Gables was one of my favorite book series as a young girl, and and making my basket. So this is what I did yesterday at Connie's. This is the base of the basket. Isn't it so beautiful? I absolutely love it. And then I thought I want to have a lid for this basket. At first I was going to make something like a genie basket, kind of coming up like a genie bottle. But then I thought I'd like to be able to use it. What would I use that for? And so I made a lid to go on top of it. What do you think, Connie? It's a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be, but it's my first lidded basket with a little cover. Now, Connie has the ring stuff and the leather, so I have to put the leather cording and the rim around the base of this, but this is my new basket. Do you like it, Connie? I was playing around with doing an even or an odd number and doing the same. So with an odd number, you get the spiral. With an even number, you get this kind of checked design. I thought it came out really nice. And then I was playing around with different handle types. We'll see what I end up doing. So you can hear in my voice, I'm a little tired. I actually ended up sleeping until about 10 minutes ago. And then I had to get out of bed. So I am a little bit spacey and tired today. Thank you. I was so happy with it, Connie. I really was. It was just like awesome. Oh my God, you guys, Connie made homemade chili relleno last night for dinner. Connie, I'm going to have to go buy chilies now because I can't stop thinking about it. It was so yummy. And I'm going to have to make some salsa because her husband made the most amazing salsa I've ever had. Oh, you're welcome, Kristen. You're welcome. So today is Q&A Friday. We are just doing questions and answers. Now, I have 2 questions that have come through already. So what I thought I would do is, let me pull them both up. I thought, well, first of all, we have a carpool. I might be yawning. It's going to be totally because I was up until 5 and slept for 4 hours. So first we have Michelle. So I thought we would go ahead and start by pulling Michelle's card, and then we'll just kind of work our way through. Then we can work on our question from Laura, who sent that to me yesterday, and then we can work on Andrea's question. Sure, yes, you can. So if anybody who wants to get a card pull today, go ahead and start speaking up, and I will try to catch all of you. But remember, my brain is a bit foggy today. So if I miss you, if you don't hear me say yes to your name and see me like write it down, then just speak up again because whew. Michelle says, I'm out in Scotts Mills enjoying the sunshine. Oh my God, isn't it a beautiful day out right now? I woke up and looked outside and was like, wow, that's amazing. It was really beautiful yesterday too. Okay, let's see. How was your guys' evenings yesterday? Hope everything was beautiful and thriving. And no, not this one. There's a deck that doesn't like where it's being kept right now, so it's like, take me out, take me out. Sure, Wendy, I'd love to pull a card for you. All right, Michelle, the Galactic Heritage deck wants to talk with you. Oh no, Shauna, did you cut your own hair? I would never. I'm like, the last time I cut my hair, I was 7, and it was the day before my mom's wedding, and I thought, I'm just going to trim my bangs for her so that she doesn't have to do that part of it. And I started trying, and then it was uneven, and so I kept trying to make it even, and I kept trying to make it even, and I kept trying to make it even until I had like little stubble. Yeah, it wasn't good. I hope it came out okay. Let's see. Michelle. Oh, man. Laura says, I worked on learning to paint dragon eyes on clear glass carbons. That sounds fun. I hope you post some of what you've done so we can take a gander at it. That sounds amazing. Lots of dragon energy coming through. Lots of dragon energy coming through. Okay, so these cards just flew out. So we shall read them. Michelle, this is your card pull, Michelle. You got 2 cards. Oh, interesting. You're not going to be at all surprised. Let me look at the first one. And I'm also kind of curious as we progress. Oh, Shauna says, yeah, not sure, but it usually doesn't. I'm exhausted too, Laura. That was gorgeous. What was I going to say? Oh, you'll see. This is sleep fog. Okay, so number 17. Let's see. Can we see it? There we go. Lyra past. Pushing the envelope. A Lyran trait that humans share is the need to push the envelope, to force ourselves to go beyond limitations. This is what drove them and us to always grow more, beyond the laws of physics, beyond current technology, and beyond physical endurance. This can be a good quality when a breakthrough is desperately needed. However, this trait can become obsessive and cause us to never rest and always push ourselves to exhaustion. I have no idea what that card is talking about. Seriously, it's just so funny. It's like classic. Oh, God. This is most likely has been a karmic pattern of yours for many lifetimes, and now it's time to let it go. Your self-care is important. Good morning, Alex. Morning, Karen. Your self-care is important, and it's more important than pushing the envelope. The theme refers to the human Lyran tendency to become single-minded and sometimes ego-driven, pushing ourselves beyond our limits in order to accomplish a goal. While this can at times be an admirable quality, it can also severely hamper our evolution and keep us stuck in actions driven by ego. When we're stuck in these ego-driven tendencies, it becomes impossible to connect with our higher nature and evolve beyond the limitations of ego. On the other hand, this card may be giving you a message to push yourself harder when you were afraid, thus acting as encouragement for you. Do you tend to give up on your goals too easily? If so, this card may be encouraging you to focus, trust, and keep going. It may also be giving you a message that you can learn and grow quite a bit by going beyond your perceived limitations. Only by looking at the surrounding cards, as well as looking honestly within yourself, can you ascertain the meaning of this enigmatic card and apply it to your life. This was a major lesson for the Lyrans during this phase of their development, when to push harder and when to let go. Ultimately, when faced with species evolution, it is a delicate balance. However, conscious transcendence happens at the point of surrender. This is a lesson Earth humans are currently facing on the personal and planetary levels. And, you know, right now, I know where you're at is you're trying to just decide, is it worth it? Should I keep going? Should I keep doing it? Is it possible to fix this issue? Is it possible for things to come out better? Yes, the next card, just one second, I'm going to be sipping heavy on this coffee like it's the milk that keeps me alive today, I tell you what. Shauna, I don't think you heard, but I stayed up till 5 a.m. making my basket lid. Okay, so this one is card number 52. Let me get there first in the book. Easier to do that two-handed. There we go. 52, progressive desires, present, earth. During a time of transformation, it is common to feel a great excitement and a desire to make sweeping change very quickly. However, because there are many people who fear change, it is prudent to make change that is slow and steady instead of rushing things. In this way, those who cling to the old will not get spooked and obstruct the natural process of transformation. Take an honest look at your life and see where you are, either moving too fast or resisting change. See the middle road as you do this. You assist the earth to transform itself with grace and ease. Yes, you can, Andrea. And then it says, this card is energetically the opposite of the last card, which is not the last one I pulled, but in the deck. Yeah, I know, Shauna. Represents the polarized energy playing out on Earth in present day. Card 51 talks about those conservative attachments that stop healthy change. This card can refer to the desire for change that compels action prematurely. Change is a constant and we can never escape it, but we have to be wise when we implement it. If this card came up in your reading, it may be asking you to look at the impulsive actions that you have taken based on premature desires for change. Conversely, it may be asking you to take a chance and change with change and growth, even when you feel frightened. You will have to look at the surrounding cards and your life circumstances in order to gain a clearer understanding of the message in this card that this card is trying to give to you. Given the energy on Earth now, during this transformational time, change will happen rapidly and profoundly no matter how afraid we are. This is the nature of the energy at this time. It would be wise to begin to feel comfortable with the unknown and with new directions that may arise, so that when growth becomes necessary for you, you can navigate it with grace and ease. So one of the things that pops for me on this, Michelle, because I know that you're in this like, should I stay or should I go kind of pattern right now, and you still feel the hook back in. You're still feeling pulled back in. One of the most powerful things that I did for myself in my marriage with my husband, who we have on and off struggled with an environment that neither one of us want to continue in our marriage. And I many times wanted to just leave. I'm just like, done, I'm out. I can't take this anymore. This is not what I want. I'm out of here. You know, that feeling, I'm all done. One of the things I did was give myself permission to feel done and to not make changes in order to alleviate the feeling of being done, to let myself be in that feeling and to not have to make a choice or decision from that feeling space. So I made a promise to myself that I would not make any life-changing choices or decisions as long as I felt emotionally charged in the process of making that decision. So when my husband and I were separated, we lived separately for 4 years while we worked on changing the way we viewed ourselves, the way we viewed the dynamic, the way that we came towards each other. And the first 2 years of that were really quite deconstructive. You know, it was a very deconstructive process. And I didn't want to stay married at that point. I wanted to just figure out how to make it so we could co-parent, whether cohabitate, that wasn't even on the table at that point. So I gave myself permission to not make the decision of divorce and to stay in the position of separation until I felt no more emotional charge around the idea of getting a divorce or of coming back together. And I just took the question of am I gonna stay with him forever, and got rid of that. It no longer became a question that was allowed. It became instead today. Today, am I in this? And on days where no, I'm not in it, I gave myself permission to not be in it. So that's, for some people, that was really challenging to accept in our marriage because everybody else wanted to know, but are you staying or are you going? What are you doing? Why don't you just go find somebody else? Why don't you just get a divorce and get it over with? And it was fascinating how uncomfortable my position with my husband in my marriage, in my life, made my family, made my friends, made the people in our social circle feel, because they didn't know how to put their finger on what we were doing, right? So I had to release the idea that others needed to know, because I actually, personally, I didn't need to know. What I knew was that even if I were to get a divorce and end the marriage, the problems weren't going to go away. He and I still had a young son together. We both loved him madly. We had no interest in taking the other parent away from him. We had no interest in bringing in other people as step-parenting roles. We just wanted to figure out how to be healthy, loving parents to our son and healthy, loving partners to each other. And so that was the only commitment, was that we would allow space for that to grow and to occur. And there was no time with that as the space to focus on dating other people or finding happiness somewhere else, because the happiness doesn't lie with other people. It lies inside, in ourselves. And yeah, how to tell other people is the struggle that we face. But it's only the struggle we face because we need other people's approval of where we are. And that, again, is an externalization of being in a state of approval or a state of allowance of the self. So it's really important to not let that get too tripped up in the head that, are you needing to define this right now for others so that others know where you're at? Or are you needing to define this for yourself because you need to know where you're at? Well, look around. That's where you're at. It's pretty easy. But for others to understand, you're never going to be able to explain it in such a way that they will. They won't understand it because it's not theirs to understand. It's yours. So taking that pressure off of, is this forever a breakup or is this a for now breakup? You know, I broke up from my husband, probably 10 times in a day sometimes. I mean, there were days where I couldn't stand him, honestly. I'm burping as I release a little bit of that, but excuse me. I just couldn't even stand the sight of him. I'm like, oh my God. And as a younger woman, it used to be that when I got to that state of I can't stand you, then I would never be able to stand them again, and that would be a shift permanently in my heart, and that was how most of my relationships ended until I met my husband. But what I found with my husband is if I give myself permission to say, I can't friggin' stand you right now, then I got that feeling out, and I move through it. I'm not denying it. I'm not trying to say I'm bad for feeling it. I'm not trying to change it. I'm just feeling what I'm feeling, and then expressing what I'm feeling, and then moving forward. And that's how I knew I should stay, was because when I came to a non-triggered state, non-emotional state, a state of neutrality emotionally, my choice was to not leave. So that's how I knew that I wasn't done. And some days the done feeling lasted for a week because that's how hurt and wounded I was. But I wouldn't give up feeling the feeling until I got all the way to the center of it, to the root of it. And that's how I developed the whole fractured states work that we do, that I do with you guys here, that I do in sessions, in the that I do in the broken or in the mirrors workshop. The title's not coming to me. My brain has a fog over it. So that's where the foundation of my work came from, is that I recognize that my husband is actually in service to me. He's the greatest in service person to me, the most committed in service person to me that I have. And he is so in service that he's willing to piss me the fuck off. And all the way to the point where he'll push me all the way to where I don't let anybody push me. And that has been the greatest gift. So, yeah, stay or go, that's your choice. But allowing yourself to be in the process, it's painful. It's not comfortable. It never is. Okay, so that's Michelle. And then I thought what I'd do is read Laura's question. Let me scroll back up. So Laura sent me a question. It's kind of long, so I don't think I'll read all of it. Said, in today's show there was, this is yesterday, a good discussion on when to stay in a relationship and when to walk away. My question is, how do you go about dating and such after you have walked away and know that you want to break the pattern of men who aren't good for you? I've had a history of bad relationships with men who undervalue me because I undervalued me. But now I'm breaking that pattern in myself. I will be honest, I haven't really dated much. I have tried some dating websites and have yet to meet anyone very interesting. So yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of that. So the thing about dating, let me just feel for a minute, because I had it earlier, and I want to pull that part back, a part of this back to me. Yeah. So what people have a choice between when somebody stays single for quite a while, especially after having a dysfunctional or damaging relationship with someone who was not who is not the who is not interested in doing the self-work. So we talked already about, like, if the other partner isn't doing self-work, isn't showing up at that same level of willingness to face themselves and go to the root of their belief that is driving their behavior and their actions. When the other person is not willing to do that, that's when it's time to walk away. And by the way, walking away sometimes leads you in a full circle right back, just to let you know. Because time and space are necessary in order to create that drive to motivate them to change and yourself to change as well. Sometimes time and space is necessary in order to realize, oh wait, I still have all these challenges and issues even without them in my life. So maybe it wasn't them causing those, maybe it was me, and needing them to be the catalyst or the puppet that holds the part of myself that I can't see. So, but when you have had the relationship and gone for a long period of self-time, I think you can do amazing and powerful work by yourself, as long as you are not entirely by yourself. When we completely isolate ourselves and reject friendships, reject other partnerships that do not give us the opportunity to experience mirroring, then, it's much more challenging to do self-work. And this is one of the main reasons why right now, as we transition, the whole old system of going to a cave to know thyself and be in a space alone in order to know thyself and to a point of enlightenment is no longer actually the most successful way to come into that state of enlightenment. So instead, what happens is you come into a state of knowing yourself in a isolated state. But once you start re-engaging with others, that's a whole other aspect of the self that you're going to begin to encounter. So Shauna says, my advice is wait to do your self-work first. Alex says, I've been single and happy for 2 years and never been happier. So it's always going to be different for everybody, right? Like if we are capable of facing, and by the way, both Shauna and Alex are not alone. They have children. So they still have mirrors going on with them. They're still interacting in mirroring relationships. And they still have friendships that they build and develop with others. So it's important to recognize that marital or spousal or couple relationships are not the only mirrors that are going to teach you about yourself. There's many, many mirrors that will teach you. Now, when you start dating again after having been in a state of semi-solo learning, when you're going for that more deeper intimacy, recognize other issues are going to be coming to the surface. They're going to be issues that are about intimacy with another individual, separate from yourself. Alex says, exactly, we're not alone, and we put the time in for understanding and healing. Exactly, they're doing that work. Shauna says, I'm 11 years divorced, dated one man for 3 years, but back to single for a couple of years. Laura, I like being single, but my question has been if I'm rejecting because of fear or if I'm not just allowing something to happen. Well, that sounds like the monkey brain trying to process and understand rather than being in that state of allowance. The reason, and I say this over and over, the reason that I stay with my husband is because emotionally there's still engagement. I'm still engaged. And when I'm not in a state of triggered, I want to still be with him. I want to still be in this dynamic. I want to find the way that is the best flow state. I love the growth I see in myself as a result of interacting. That's how I know to stay. Now, if you're not finding people, if people are not coming to you, thank you, Savante. If people are not coming to you that are sparking your desire for engagement, then that is a message to you. It's time for still doing self-work. But the idea that you're going to step out and find somebody who doesn't have any issues and that you're going to now suddenly have a happy relationship or marriage is kind of like it's a fairy tale. It's, as far as I can tell, I've observed many, many, many relationships where people have been single for a long time. They start to get in together in relationships with somebody new, and they believe because they've done all the self-work that now it's smooth sailing. So when that first struggle comes up, that is inevitably going to come up because bringing two people together is a messy business. Then they think, oh, I was wrong. I wasn't really ready. I failed. This isn't the right relationship. I can't take it, and they leave. There is in our culture a desire that I observe in many people, or not a desire, but I think a belief that you'll know you're in a good relationship because it's happy and it's easy and it's loving and it's flowing. So a good relationship is going to be all things, just like unity, right? Laura says, I was worried about that too. Work on the allowance in your life, all parts of your life. Alex, I agree. What I get from Laura is there's still time to heal and evaluate internally because we will always have triggers that brings room for growth and learning. Exactly. So if we don't have people coming to us, if the people that we want to are inspired to be with aren't showing up in our lives, then that is time to be doing the internal work. That is time to be turning away from the mirror and going internally. It's when the mirror draws us out of ourselves that we're supposed to address that. So, yeah, so I hope that covers your question, Laura. If not, just go ahead and speak up. And I'll do another card pull, and then we can come back to it. Then we'll go to Andrea's question. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got Kristen is next. Ganesh deck. I love this Ganesh deck, guys. I know I say that all the time, but I really do. I just love it. Oh, let's see. So we've been talking so much about obligation this week. I wanted to also state, you know, when we have the relationship it's for like myself, my husband he's like all of my problem relationships wrapped up into one. He's a lot like my brother. He's a lot like my mother. He's a lot like my father. So he has all of these dynamics wrapped up into one individual, and that makes it even more challenging. You know, one of the things that I said was I'm all done having these challenging, conflicted, stressful relationships in my friendships, and I definitely am all done having them in my business relationships. But that means that it still has to show up. Thank you very much. It still has to show up somewhere because I'm not done growing. I'm not done learning. So where's what's left? Well, in my home, in my family, my husband and my son. So they became my conflicting relationships where I still had to look at and evaluate the beliefs that I hold about myself. So it's really, we're going to have the lessons no matter what. It's up to us where we have them at. Oh my God, this is beautiful. I've never read this card before. So this will be fun. I'm hoping next week to get on top of getting all of the morning Oasis shows over the last 2 weeks labeled and up on Facebook because I have been so far behind in all of that. Okay, so this is the new card for you, and this is for Kristen. This is card number 18, openness. Observe, evaluate, and make inquiries before forming a conclusion. When the moon is waning in the crescent phase, it is a good time to begin to review endeavors and correct mistakes. It is time to throw out what you no longer need and clear away excess and old energy, including any clutter you may have accumulated in addition to discarding excess material things in your life. Eliminate any unhealthy behaviors and relationships. You may find that you're trying to decide between two options. This card is not about making a decision, but about taking the time to really listen to your heart and your inner voice. Ganesh advises you to gain more information before you act. This knowledge can be in many forms, including your innate knowledge, self-knowledge, secret knowledge, or even more esoteric wisdom. You may find that what you are attaining might be both mysterious and magical. You are in a conscious process of creative release. Give thanks and gratitude for the things that you've accomplished. Don't feel rushed or pressured to begin a new undertaking. Review your goals and regroup accordingly. Once you have all of the necessary information, you will begin to feel motivated to set some new goals and start new projects. So this is really about that state of allowance, being in a state of allowance to be frustrated, to be angry, to be irritated, to be at a state of, oh, I'm fucking done, right? Let yourself be there. It's okay. Our desire to fix things is that pill-popping society desire that we hold. And we do, it's entrenched in us. Like, we go to the doctor because something is upset with us or something is wounded or damaged or sick. How many of you have gone to the doctor for symptoms and you come away with a pill that does nothing for it? Or you come away with having taken all these tests and having gone through all these different types of diagnoses, and in the end, it's done nothing to change what the problem is. Because the problem is it can't be fixed by a pill. It can't be fixed by saying I'm done. It can't be fixed by finding a different person. It doesn't work that way. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see more and more of that. And for those people who can't accept that, then they get sicker and sicker and sicker, and they're rejecting the fact that they have to get intimate and into what their pain is, where they're at in their own lives. And nobody else can tell you that. Nobody else can find it. Nobody else can fix it for you. So that state of allowance is what I find to be the ultimate state that allows me to make moves and change and grow and evolve. It's the only way. We can't put the barriers up, and we can't have somebody else carry us. So that openness is really really important right now. I'm going to take another sip of my coffee. So Andrea asked, what is the difference between transcendental meditation and mindfulness meditation? And I watched the video that you posted this morning in the group, Andrea, about TM. Now, transcendental meditation, all that is a toolbox that gives permission slips to people to be able to drop into a state of allowance and presence. That's it. So TM is a system that many have found successful. It is a process of dropping into a meditative state that many find successful in getting through the noise they've created in their lives around them. And once they get there, then it begins to transition, right? And then they learn how to, they're basically just doing consciousness expansion. So transcendental meditation, all that means, it's just a different set of tools that gets them into the state that we come into whenever we join and do meditation, or whenever you sit and do your meditations yourself. If you're struggling with finding and creating time for self-meditation, try out TM. There are a lot of people who find that method extremely successful. Personally, I don't use it because I have found for myself the most successful is just the grounding into earth and connecting that way, and opening up and connecting into source and bringing them through. For me, that has been the most successful. I prefer to work that way. That does not mean that it's not powerful transcendental meditation. So all transcendental meditation is just another way of doing what we do here when we're working on ourselves as a collective. So it's the same thing. And what you do is a state of what we taught in the Life Mastery series and Let It Flow. TM is more kind of in alignment with the Let It Flow series that we, the second series that you took with me. Karen says, oh wow, I love this card's message. Thank you for your wonderful gift. I really needed that so much. It just happened since I went to the hospital yesterday and left knowing nothing more than when I walked in. Exactly. And that was how I knew, my teacher said it's called healer's disease. As long as we're resisting being our own healer, then we make ourselves ill. And because we don't have the ability to address that in our medical system, because we can't address soul illness, they don't know how to diagnose. Your soul feels sick because you aren't looking at it. You're not listening to it. Right? They don't know how to do that. Okay, Andrea. Yeah, the Messenger Oracle wants to talk with you. And remember, so this is Q&A Friday, you guys. This is your time to ask questions, to ask for card pulls, to share where you're at, to share how this week's topic of obligation relations has impacted you. All of that stuff is powerful to share. And one of the greatest reasons I find, and truly one of the biggest reasons I do this morning Oasis in this way, you're welcome, and show up in this way with you guys, interacting with you, opening a space for you to speak to me as much as me to speak to you, is because as we witness others in the state where we are, we see the unity, and we see how we're all in this struggle right now. I'd love to, Shauna. We're all facing these same challenges. we're all facing it, and that means as the collective comes in alignment and faces changes, singular changes as a community, as a collective, that's when we get massive consciousness change collectively, and we find allowance for ourselves instead of carving ourselves away thinking we're crazy, we're the only ones, we're bad, there's something wrong with us. Sure, Savante, I'd be happy to pull for you. So that's a big part of this work with you guys. Okay. And this is just still more in alignment. Oh, that's funny. Just have to clear my throat, excuse me. Still kind of phlegmy, literally woke up right for the show. So today, this one is for Andrea. Seek the lesson. Wisdom is born from seeking the lesson in all experiences, both good and bad. It is born from the awareness that everything is connected and that all happens for a reason, even when the reason remains a mystery. Embrace the new idea, new awareness, or the new knowledge that comes from listening to your internal voice. And to the human and non-human teachers and messengers who will come in and out of your life. Let them inspire you to explore unknown pathways. So I think right now, Andrea, because you're in a turning away from one aspect of your conflict and change and shifting, it's time to now seek the lessons in where you want to go forward. Yeah, this came up, I think, yesterday. Or, well, Shauna was with me when this came up. We had a 3-card pull. So it is definitely in this time right now about really, if we don't want to have a repeat of things, then that means that we have to go all the way into the lesson itself. And when we don't embrace the lesson, what happens to us is we then have the lesson keep coming, keep coming, keep coming in whatever form it is. I thought it would be fun today to keep the cards separated out that we've pulled, and then we'll kind of look at them all as like almost like a spread at the end. I thought that might be fun. Okay, so Shauna. Ooh, you're still shifting. Oh, gosh. Savante says, my Kevin loves wolves. Wolves are, they're an alpha creature. They're predatory, but, they're also the keeper of health in a sense. They're the ones that would keep the herd strong by picking off the weakest ones. Dances with Wolves or Never Cry Wolf are 2 of my favorite old-time movies. I love those movies. And the wisdom and knowledge that came from really understanding the relationship of all these interconnected species, and seeing how as we deconstructed different hierarchical species at different levels, how that shifted and changed everything about the planet. Like, for when we took away those herds of buffalo, that really set into huge imbalance many different aspects of our prairie life, of the Great Plains development and growth. So they're one of those apex creatures that, with or without their presence, it completely shifts the entire environment. Like, we can think, oh, if we took deer out, or if we took rabbits out, or if we took one kind of species away, it would be fine. But with wolves, they, for instance, what's popping in my head is at Yellowstone National Park, they reintroduced the wolves. There was a video that's gone around. I think I posted it a few years back. I just saw it come up again, where they talk about reintroducing wolves into the park. And by doing so, the wolves made it so that the deer changed their behavior. And instead of the deer being fearless and just grazing everywhere and consuming everything and growing out of control unchecked, they started to be more cautious about where to step out of the cover of the trees. And so by doing so, meadows were allowed to grow, and then more trees were allowed to grow, and then more habitat for other creatures was allowed to grow. And by allowing the plant life to really thrive, it stabilized the banks of the rivers. So the rivers weren't shifting as much as they were and going into more and more of straight lines. They were keeping their flow in their sinuous path that allowed for more and more growth, more and more awareness, right? So it impacted on many, many levels, and not just the ones that you would think of. It impacted the weather in the area as well. So they're one of those creatures, and we have to recognize that we're a lot like them. We have impacts that reach far beyond anything we can even imagine, because they create the setup that we aren't even consciously aware of, the foundation upon which everything else grows. So Laura says, I read something about how reintroducing wolves into Yellowstone. Exactly. Savante says, he keeps me strong, and all that you're talking of. Yeah. Okay, so Shauna. Really, you guys, my brain is kind of all over the place. Earth magic. My son next week is going on his marine biology trip, so he's going to be gone all week long. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with myself. Oh, a week of not being mom. Kind of looking forward to it. That means I don't have to get up at 7:30 every morning and make breakfast and lunch and all of that. Not that I did that today. Oh yes, this is perfect for today. One of my friends and favorite musicians, Nako Bear, has a song called Tous Pieds, and it's Tous Pieds is French for 2 feet, and it is one of my favorite of his songs. And one of the things that he talks about in this song is ceremony, and invoking ceremony in your life, and how sometimes it's a person who brings us into ceremony. So that just popped into my mind to share as I come to the page in the book. All right, so this one is for Shauna. It is in sacred ceremony that we have one of the greatest opportunities to experience communion with Source, one where the perceived dualities of both heaven and earth merge into an experience of the divine. Through the use of sacred pieces that have become imbued with spiritual significance, we bring forth ceremony, catalyzed by clear intention and preparation. Sacred ceremony is prayer in action. In this image, a woman kneels before an altar where a number of crystals are placed, light emanating from her hands. We see incense burning, snake spirit rests nearby, and various ethereal beings appear in a wispy shroud of light around her head. While all the while, the tapestry upon which she sits appears to be on fire, symbolizing the fiery passion brought on by the intense focus of spirit that has been invoked for the ceremony. Calling spirit forth in this way facilitates a direct and heartfelt sense of relatedness to Source. Whether through indifference, depression, life crisis, or any other manifestation of mental, emotion, or physical blockages, you have drifted from the intimacy with spirit for which you yearn. It is important to do what you can to regain an experience of spiritual power that is contained within you and all around you. Do so by conducting a ceremony, one that involves not only spirit, but also material objects that you consider sacred. Set up an altar in a convenient area that is apart from your usual living space. Start with representations of the 4 major elements: earth, air, fire, water. And then add just a few sacred objects. Set your intentions for this ceremony, such as whether the purpose is for healing, celebration, or honoring a particular earth season or cycle. Then do an invocation to call upon your spirit guides. Breathe their presence and ask these divine beings to guide you throughout the process. Trust their guidance. Feel your heartbeat and keep breathing. Breath is the key to the actual experience of spirit, and creating a ceremony is the vehicle that supports this. Now, one of the things that we talk about, yes, Karen, I agree. One of the things that we talk about in this process of awakening is creating the space for that. And so for me, my little altar is this space right up here, but right by where my iPad sits normally when I do the show. So I have my crouching Buddha, which he, for me, represents that turning within, not needing to be so externally focused, coming fully within to the internal, because all is within us and we are one, right? The crouching Buddha. I have a crow feather, keeping me in track and in reminder of that space of transmutation and allowance, because crows for me are very much about that. I also have my Ganesh, because for me Ganesh is a powerful symbol of what it is to overcome the obstacles that we face. I have some sap from one of my sweats that I went to that was a really powerful experience. My first time going into a sweat, facing a fear. I was terrified to do this. And I even had a friend tell me, be careful, somebody died doing that recently. So I have that here. I have one of my clusters this is a crown cluster that helps me feel so connected to Source, intimately connected. So these things there's more, but I'm going to spare you. These are all things that are teaching me and reminding me and keeping it in my mind and in my consciousness. It's by my workspace. It's something that I look to. My incense burns here. It's that intention space that helps keep me in alignment with these things and in my frequency and flowing. So creating that space is powerful. Alex says, I 100% agree with this card. We live in the 3D reality, and physical symbolisms are extremely important. This is how our ancestors taught us. We should continue. I agree. We have these physical representations because they bring us right back into the reminder state. So ceremony, I feel like, is important for you right now, Shauna. Okay, and we have another pull for Savante. It looks like this will probably be the last card pull, and then we'll really quickly look at all of the card pulls that we've done and read them. The goddesses want to talk with you, Savante. Am I remembering correctly, Savante? Are you the one that I met at Lucky Lab playing a game that I was so curious about, and you do game nights? Am I remembering that correctly? Yes, time to set up your space with intention and a comfortable to spend time in it. I agree 100%. And I miss having you here. I wouldn't have stayed up till 5 a.m. if you had been here, because I would have felt guilty and I would have let you go to sleep. See, you left and then I stay up till 5 a.m. It's like I don't know what to do when you go away. It's so needed you here. Oh, okay. So in this deck of the Goddess deck, they have in the deck as well 3 cards that are called confirmation cards. And the confirmation card that came out is one of those, and this one is the one, and I'll just read it. It's really short. So, confirmation number 2, affirmation. The full wine glass is symbolic of yes. This card reaffirms the confirmation of your question, particularly the immediate goddess card or cards near it. Affirmation is the positive aspect to the whole. So this is just saying, yes, all of this, yes. So let's look back at what we got here, guys. We've got pushing the envelope. We are a group of powerful envelope pushing individuals. We like to see how far, how fast, how big, how powerful, how amazing, how low we can go, right? We are envelope pushers. That's why we come here together. And we're here in the present, bringing progressive desire, bringing the desire to shift and change and keep us moving forward in the progress, right? And at the same time, we're also working to stay open in a state of allowance of all that comes to us, of all of our lessons that we need. State of allowance. And at the same time, seeking those lessons by being in that state of allowance, letting them come through, letting the lessons guide us and shape us and shift us with this deep knowledge and the community, right? Wolves they are a community animal. And bring in some ceremony, some invocation, some prayer, creating space and intention around yourself and what you're doing. And that's the whole confirmation of this reading here, okay? So I think it's a powerful message that's coming through to us. And I'm going to hold these cards for all of us. I'm going to place them with my smoky quartz points on top in my sacred altar and my clearing sap and right next to my Ganesh. So this is where they're going to stay all day today while they work on clearing out from us the things that don't allow us to ground this energy in individually so we can as a collective hold it even more. Thanks for joining me for Q&A Friday, you guys. I love you all. I'm sorry I was a little low energy today, but Shauna, check out what I made because I know you came after I showed it. This is my basket with its lid. What do you think? Do you like it? It was so worth being up till 5 a.m. for. I love it. I'm so happy for it. So, that's all. Thank you guys. I love you. And I will see you guys on Monday. If between now and Monday you have something you think we ought to focus on next week, let me know because it helps me to know where you guys are at. So let me know where you're at and we'll figure out what next week is going to focus on. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.